From the year 1932 to 1933, the Blessed Mother gave apparitions in Belgium to 5 children in Beauraing as Our Lady of the Golden Heart and to a child Marian as Our Lady Virgin of the Poor. The apparitions of Our Lady of Beauraing and Bannex took place within a period of 6 weeks, and both apparitions were approved by the Holy See. We already saw about the apparitions Our Lady of the Virgin of Poor, and in this video we are seeing about the apparitions and history of Our Lady of Beauraing, Virgin of the Golden Heart. The Blessed Mother appeared 33 times to 5 children in Beauraing from November 1932 to January 1933. Our Lady appeared almost every day to these 5 children. Sometimes Our Lady came multiple times in the same day. The messages that our mother spoke to the children was brief and simple. Beauraing is a humble village in southeast Belgium, 4 miles from the French border. During the apparitions of the Blessed Mother, the population numbered around 2,000. The 5 children to whom the Blessed Mother appeared was Fernande Voisin, Gilberte Voisin, Albert Voisin, and Andre D. and Gilberte D. Hector was employed as a railway clerk. He also had opened a little shop with his wife on the main street of the town. The Voisins were Catholics, however, had abandoned the practice of the Catholic faith. These 2 children are daughters of Mrs. Germain, who was a farmer's widow. The 2 families are not related but are good friends and also their children. They play together. On the evening of November 29 in the year 1932, the 4 children, Albert, Fernande, with their friends Gilberte and Andre, went on a walk to the convent school run by the Sisters of Christian Doctrine to meet up with Gilberte Voisin, who was staying late to study until 6:30 p.m. In front of a railway bridge that skirted the convent garden, there in the convent was a grotto of Our Lady of Lourdes. The children entered the grounds and passed the grotto of Our Lady. The children rang the doorbell and waited. While waiting, Albert looked towards the railway bridge, and there he saw a lady dressed in a long white robe walking in the air. The lady's feet was covered with clouds. It didn't take too long for Albert to know that it was the Blessed Mother. The girls paid no attention to him, but Fernande turned around, partly because of the way Albert's voice sounded. She looked up and froze, seeing the Blessed Mother. The other girls then looked up and were shocked. They all clearly saw that the lady was dressed in white, walking in mid-air, her feet hidden by a little cloud. The children didn't know what to do, and they began pounding on the door. Sister Valeria answered the door. The children said, "Look, sister, the Virgin is walking about the bridge. She is all dressed in white. We are afraid." The good nun, Sister Valeria, tried to see what they were seeing, but she couldn't see anything. She thought perhaps the children were referring to the statue of Our Lady of Lourdes in the grotto, and she said, "It's only a branch in the wind. Statues don't walk." But the children insisted that the Blessed Mother was walking about the bridge. About this time, Gilberte Voisin, for whom the children came to take with them home, came out the door, and she immediately saw the Blessed Mother. Then the children raced to their homes fearfully. Over the next several weeks, the children saw the Blessed Mother 32 more times in the garden of the convent. Initially, after knowing this, the children's parents and the Mother Superior and Mother Theophile did not believe them and told them to stop talking about it. Mother Theophile ordered the gates of the garden to be locked at dusk. The next day, the children, in obedience to the Superior, stayed away from the garden. They were sad because they couldn't see the lady that day. The next day, Mother Theophile said that because the children had obeyed her, the children could again come to the garden. The apparitions continued. The children had formed the habit of saying the rosary as soon as they arrived in the garden. At the time Our Lady comes, the children would fall to their knees in unison as though someone had pushed them. Although they fell suddenly and sharply, they were never injured in the knees. The next day, the children again saw the Blessed Mother, but this time they were delighted to see her. The children saw the Blessed Mother much closer this time. They saw Our Lady's beautiful features in detail. Our Lady's feet were hidden by a little cloud as she floated a couple feet above the ground. She was dressed in a glowing white gown. Her deep blue eyes were raised towards heaven, and rays of light surrounded her head. Our Lady also had a golden crown, and her hands were together in prayer in front of her chest. Then, without saying anything, Our Lady disappeared. For 3 days, Our Lady said nothing to the children. On December 2, in response to the questions the people wanted the children to ask Our Lady, Albert asked the Blessed Mother, "Are you the Immaculate Virgin?" To this, the Blessed Mother nodded her head and opened her arms. Then the children asked, "What do you want of us?" Our Lady spoke for the first time. "Always be good." The children answered her in unison, "Yes, we will always be good." And the apparition ended. On this day, the children asked the Blessed Mother, "Are you really the Immaculate Virgin?" Our Lady nodded her head in assent. Then the children again asked, "What do you want of us?" Our Lady responded, "Is it true that you will always be good?" The children responded in unison, "Yes, we will always be good." On this day, the children brought with them a little boy with polio and a blind uncle. The children asked Our Lady to heal the 2 sick people, but Our Lady didn't give any obvious response. The children again asked Our Lady if she is really the Blessed Virgin. Our Lady nodded, "Yes." By this time, large crowds began to gather at the place of the apparition. On December 5, the children asked the Blessed Mother for some sign to convince the people that the visions were authentic. The Blessed Mother appeared with a rosary, and so the children immediately began to pray the rosary. On this day, separate physicians examined all the 5 children while they were in ecstasy. 15,000 people were in attendance. Lighted matches were held underneath the children's hands. The children are also pinpricked, etc. Yet, the children never felt pain from it. Later, the children had no knowledge of what happened to them. Each night, the children prayed the rosary in their natural voice. However, once Our Lady arrived, the children's voices became much louder and high-pitched, and they prayed faster. On December 28, Our Lady told the children that she would stop coming to them very soon. On this day, Our Lady opened her arms to expose a brilliant golden heart. This was the first time our Mother had done this. The beautiful golden heart was radiating heavenly rays of light. On this day, Our Lady said to the children, "I would like a church built here so that people can come here on pilgrimage." On this day, the Blessed Mother showed her golden heart to the children again, and she said to them, "Pray, pray very much." On December 31, our mother revealed her golden heart once more to the children. On this day, Our Lady said, "Pray always." Also, she told the children that they would not see her again after 3rd of January. On two separate occasions, Our Lady spoke only to one of the visionaries, Fernande Voisin. But Fernande was afraid that people wouldn't believe her and also feared that what if the other visionaries showed her resentment because of this. Usually when Our Lady appeals to the children would always keep praying. Only when Our Lady moves her lips to speak, they will stop praying so that they could hear her. During the apparition of January 1, Our Lady wanted to speak to Fernande alone and began speaking. Fernande, because she was afraid, continued praying and lowered her eyes so that she could not hear what Our Lady wanted to say. A great crowd gathered on January 3 for the final apparition. The children came and began to pray for a short while. As usual, every child fell on their knees except Fernande. She looked around in amazement, then slowly went down on her knees herself. Few seconds later, she got up and said, "I can see her." Our Lady did not let Fernande see her, but for others, Our Lady was more beautiful than they had ever seen her. Our Lady then gave each message to each one of the 4 children and gave 3 secrets, one to Gilberte D, Gilberte, and Albert. "This is between you and me, and I ask you not to speak of it to anyone." Our Lady then gave her a secret and said, "Goodbye. I will convert sinners." She then gave the child a secret and said, "Goodbye." Our mother gave him a secret and said, "Goodbye." Finally, she spoke to Andre. "I am the Mother of God, the Queen of Heaven. Pray always." Then said, "Goodbye." After speaking to Andre, Our Lady disappeared. During the time Our Lady spoke to the other 4 children, Fernande prayed with all her might, but yet couldn't see the Blessed Mother. She looked at the expressions on the faces of the other children. Fernande knew Our Lady was speaking to them. There were tears in her eyes. The children got up and began to go to the grotto of Our Lady of Lourdes together with the crowd to pray the rosary. But Fernande stayed there and cried out, "I want to see her." Suddenly, a crack of thunder shot through the sky, followed by a ball of fire which landed on the tree. Everyone saw it. Fernande broke into a great smile. "She was there," she said. Our Lady looked upon Fernande, then said, "Do you love my son?" "Yes," Fernande exclaimed. "Do you love me?" "Oh yes," she said. "Then sacrifice yourself for me," Our Lady said. Then Our Lady opened her arms, shone more brilliantly than ever, and exposed her golden heart. She looked at Fernande lovingly and said, "Goodbye." Then Our Lady disappeared.